There is a reason you are reading these words right now, on this Friday, with that quiet weight in your chest that you have not fully named. You have felt it in the way your breath catches when your phone lights up with a message you were not expecting, in the way your shoulders tense when a certain thought crosses your mind, in the way your eyes linger on a verse or a phrase that seems to find you again and again. This is not random noise in your day. This is a signal, and you know it. You have tried to explain it away as stress, as coincidence, as nothing, but something deeper in you refuses to let it go. There is a part of you that senses this Friday holds more than just another set of tasks and another evening that slips quietly into the weekend. If you have been sensing that something matters, but cannot name the season you are living, there is a resource created to help you understand what this period may be forming, and how to move through it with faith and clarity. The ebook called The Secret Calendar of the Chosen was written for moments exactly like this, when recognition is strong but direction feels unclear. To access the ebook, go now to the top of the comments and click the link in the pinned comment. You do not need to wait until this message ends to take that step. Come back to these words when you are ready, but do not pretend you did not notice the pull. The signal you have been ignoring is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to guide you. You wake before the alarm, and the room is still dark enough that you can pretend the day has not begun. You lie there with your eyes open, listening to the quiet hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of a car passing outside, the slow rhythm of your own breathing. Your mind is already moving through the list of things you must do, but beneath that list is another list you do not speak aloud. It is the list of questions you carry about this season of your life. Why does this keep happening? Why does this door remain closed? Why does this feeling of waiting feel heavier now than it did before? You swing your legs over the side of the bed and sit with your elbows on your knees, your hands hanging loosely between your legs. Your shoulders feel heavy, as if they have been carrying something invisible for months. You stand, you wash your face, you move through the motions, but your heart is not fully in any of it. There is a part of you that is still back in that dark room, staring at the ceiling, asking silent questions you do not know how to voice. This message is not here to tell you that heaven has scheduled a guaranteed reward for this exact Friday. It is here to help you recognize what may already be forming in the quiet places of your life. It is here to invite you to stop treating every silence as abandonment and every delay as rejection. It is here to suggest that what you have been calling confusion may actually be preparation, and what you have been calling stagnation may actually be the space where something new is being rooted. By the time these words reach you, you will have a clearer way to distinguish between waiting that is simply waiting and waiting that is actually preparation. You will have language for the difference between closure and redirection, between rebuilding and a brand new beginning. You will be able to look at your own days and say, with more confidence, this is not punishment, this is process. That shift alone can change the way you breathe, the way you pray, the way you make decisions when you do not have all the answers. Picture yourself in the kitchen, standing in front of a cup of coffee that has already cooled. You are not really tasting it. You are staring at the calendar on the wall, or at the Notes app on your phone, or at a small sticky note you placed on the fridge weeks ago. The date on that note is not far from today. You remember writing it in a moment of quiet desperation, asking for a sign, asking for clarity, asking for something to shift. You did not expect an answer to arrive with fanfare. You expected something smaller, something you might almost miss if you were not paying attention. And now here you are on this Friday, with that same question in your chest, and with a growing sense that the answer has been closer than you thought. You trace the edge of the cup with your thumb. You think about all the times you almost ignored a similar feeling before. You think about the times you did ignore it, and how much longer the waiting became because of that. There is a reason you notice this theme more than others do. It is not because you are better or more spiritual, it is because you have been paying attention in the quiet. You have been the one who stays a few extra seconds in prayer when everyone else has already stood up. You have been the one who reads a verse again, even when you do not fully understand it. You have been the one who senses when a conversation is not really about the surface topic, but about something deeper trying to break through. Many people move through their days on autopilot, reacting to whatever is loudest in the moment. You have not been able to do that for a long time. Something in you refuses to let the noise be the only thing that shapes your choices. Many readers who arrived feeling confused or tired of waiting said the material helped them understand their season more clearly, organize their prayers, or stop interpreting every silence as abandonment. The ebook called The Secret Calendar of the Chosen gives you a framework for recognizing what kind of waiting you are in and how to respond without panic or passivity. To access the ebook, go now to the top of the comments and click the link in the pinned comment. You do not have to figure this all out on your own. There is help available for the very questions that brought you here. After you take that step, you can return to this message with a little more space in your chest. The first form of opposition is not dramatic. It does not arrive as a loud voice telling you to give up. It arrives as distraction. It arrives as the sudden urge to check your messages, to scroll through your feed, to start a task you had planned to leave for later. It arrives as the thought that maybe this is all just emotional noise and you are overthinking it again. It arrives as the comparison with someone else whose life looks simpler, whose path looks clearer, whose faith looks easier. It arrives as the pressure to make a decision right now before you have had time to breathe or pray or listen. All of these are strategies to keep you from staying with the signal long enough to understand what it is saying. The enemy of your peace is not always a grand attack. Often it is just enough noise to keep you from hearing the quiet voice that has been speaking to you all along. Think of Joseph, the one who received dreams in his youth and then found himself in a pit, in slavery, in prison, in a place where it seemed like every promise had been buried. He did not wake up one morning and step directly into the palace. He moved through years that must have felt like silence, like delay, like abandonment. And yet, in that silence, something was being formed that could not have been formed anywhere else. He was learning to interpret dreams, to manage resources, to lead under pressure, to trust when there was no visible evidence that anything was working. You are not Joseph, and your story is not his, but the pattern is familiar. God is not limited to one person or one era. The same God who was with Joseph in the pit and in the prison is with you in your kitchen, in your car, in your quiet moments before sunrise. The same God who used Joseph's waiting to prepare him for a role he could not have imagined is able to use your waiting in ways you cannot yet see. The cost of ignoring the signal is not always dramatic in the moment. It shows up as repeated cycles that drain you. It shows up as peace that slips away a little more each time you choose distraction over discernment. It shows up as decisions made in panic that you later regret. It shows up as a hardening of your attention, where you stop noticing the small nudges because you have trained yourself to treat them as irrelevant. You tell yourself you are being practical, but somewhere deep inside, you know you are also protecting yourself from the possibility that you might be asked to change. The signal is not meant to crush you. It is meant to call you back to a way of living that is more aligned, more honest, more open to the quiet guidance that has been available all along. If you have felt that something in this message is speaking directly to you, type the numbers 888 in the comments as a simple confirmation that you are paying attention. Do not turn it into a ritual that moves something in the spiritual realm. Treat it as a small act of agreement, a way of saying, I am here, I am listening, I am not ignoring this today. Then come back to these words. The signal is not finished with you yet. There is more to uncover about why this Friday, why this theme, why this quiet insistence in your chest that refuses to let you walk away. The conflict is not only external, it is also internal. There is a part of you that wants to obey the signal, and another part that is afraid of what obedience might cost. There is a part of you that longs for clarity, and another part that has learned to prefer the safety of confusion. Confusion, after all, requires nothing from you. Clarity often requires a decision. And decisions mean that some doors close, some relationships change, some versions of yourself are left behind. You have built a life around certain assumptions, and the signal is inviting you to question them. That is uncomfortable. That is why you have hesitated. That is why you have explained it away. That is why you have waited for a louder voice, a clearer sign, a more dramatic confirmation. But the quiet voice has been consistent, and consistency, over time, is its own kind of confirmation. The root pattern is not that you lack faith. The root pattern is that you have learned to equate faith with certainty. You have been taught that if you really trusted, you would have all the answers, all the peace, all the green lights. And when that has not been your experience, you have concluded that something must be wrong with you. But faith is not the absence of questions. Faith is the willingness to move forward, even when the questions are still present. Faith is the decision to respond to the signal, even when you do not know exactly where it will lead. Recognition without direction can leave the heart just as tired as confusion. That is why there is a resource designed to help you move from recognition to application, from sensing to stewarding, from waiting to walking. The ebook called The Secret Calendar of the Chosen is a practical companion for reflection, prayer, discernment, daily decisions, and identifying the next faithful step. To access the ebook, go now to the top of the comments and click the link in the pinned comment. Many readers return to these pages when they enter a new season because they find in them both clarity and courage. After you take that step, you can continue with this message, knowing you have already chosen to move in the direction of light. Your mind tells stories about what the signal means. It says this is just stress, this is just fatigue, this is just your imagination. Your body tells a different story. It holds the tension in your shoulders, the tightness in your chest, the shallow breath that you only notice when you stop moving. Your spirit tells another story still. It whispers that there is more here than biology and psychology, that there is a dimension to your life that cannot be fully explained by chemistry and circumstance. You do not have to choose between these layers. You can honor all of them. You can care for your body, seek wise counsel, rest when you need to rest, and still remain open to the possibility that God is speaking in the quiet. Discernment is not about rejecting reason. It is about inviting reason to sit at a larger table where prayer and silence and scripture also have a voice. This affects the people around you, even when they do not know it. When you ignore the signal, you become more reactive, more impatient, more distant. When you honor the signal, you become more present, more patient, more available. Your relationships are not just background scenery for your spiritual journey. They are part of the journey itself. The way you respond to the quiet nudges shapes the way you show up for your family, your friends, your co-workers, your neighbors. You do not have to become suspicious of every person or every invitation. You simply need to learn to pause long enough to ask, is this life-giving? Is this aligned? Is this something I can enter with peace? That question alone will protect you from many unnecessary battles and many unnecessary detours. The strategy of opposition is not always to attack your faith directly. Often it is to flood your days with noise, fatigue, delay, and lesser urgencies. It is to fill your calendar with so many good things that there is no space left for the best thing. It is to keep you so tired that prayer feels like another task on the list. It is to convince you that if you just push through this week, this month, this season, you will have time to listen later. But later keeps moving. The signal keeps appearing. The quiet voice keeps speaking, and you keep saying, not now, not now, not now, until one day you realize you have built a life that is full but not aligned, busy but not peaceful, productive but not deeply satisfying. That is the cost of treating the signal as optional. There comes a point when you stop negotiating with the truth connected to this Friday. You stop telling yourself you will pay attention tomorrow. You stop pretending you do not know what the signal is asking. You stop using your own exhaustion as an excuse to remain in confusion. This does not mean you suddenly have all the answers. It means you have decided that confusion is no longer your default. It means you have decided that peace is more important than the illusion of control. It means you have decided that obedience, even in small steps, is safer than delay. That decision changes everything. It does not erase the questions, it does not remove the waiting, but it shifts the ground under your feet. You are no longer standing in the same place. You have moved, even if the movement is invisible to everyone else. Imagine a seed buried in the soil. It is not dead. It is not inactive. It is in a place of formation, where everything that will become the plant is being prepared in darkness. The soil is not a prison. It is a womb. The pressure around the seed is not meant to crush it. It is meant to shape it. The seed does not see the sun, but it is moving toward the sun. It does not know the exact day it will break the surface, but it trusts the process that is happening beneath the ground. You are that seed. This season is that soil. The pressure you feel is not evidence that you have been forgotten. It is evidence that something is being formed that could not be formed in the light. Inside that soil, there is hidden development. Roots are growing downward even when nothing is visible above. The seed is drawing nutrients, building strength, preparing for the moment when it will be ready to rise. You may feel like nothing is happening because you cannot see the growth. But there is growth, there is strength being built in places you cannot observe. There is resilience being formed in the quiet. There is a version of you being prepared that will be able to stand in the light without being destroyed by it. Do not despise the hiddenness. Do not rush the process. Do not dig yourself up to check on your progress. Trust the work that is happening where no one can see. The opposition inside the metaphor is the impulse to break the soil too soon. It is the fear that if you do not force something to happen, nothing will ever happen. It is the comparison with other seeds that seem to be rising faster, blooming earlier, bearing fruit sooner. It is the voice that says you are behind, you are late, you are missing your moment. But every seed has its own timing. Every plant has its own season. The soil knows what it is doing. The one who placed you there knows what he is forming. The pressure that feels like delay is actually protection. It is keeping you from emerging before you are ready. It is keeping you from being exposed to winds you are not yet strong enough to withstand. There comes a moment when the seed begins to move. It does not explode out of the ground. It does not announce itself with fanfare. It simply begins to rise, slowly, steadily, faithfully. It breaks the surface not because it forced its way, but because it was ready. You are entering that kind of movement. It may not look dramatic from the outside. It may simply be a new clarity in your decisions, a new peace in your waiting, a new courage in your conversations. But it is movement. It is the beginning of what has been forming in the hidden. Do not despise it because it is small. Do not ignore it because it is quiet. This is the moment you have been waiting for, even if it does not look like you imagined. If you recognize yourself in this image of the seed breaking the soil, type the words "I'm ready" in the comments as a simple declaration of agreement. Do not turn it into a magical formula. Treat it as a way of saying, I see what is happening. I am not resisting it anymore. I am willing to move with what is being formed. Then come back to these words. The metaphor is not finished with you yet. There is more to understand about how this movement connects to your daily life, your daily choices, your daily obedience. This return is not about performance. It is not about proving that you are chosen. It is not about earning what has already been given. It is about living in alignment with the recognition that has been placed in your heart. The seed does not strive to be a plant. It simply becomes what it was created to be. You do not need to strive to be chosen. You simply need to live in a way that honors the choosing that has already happened. That means paying attention to the signal. That means responding when you feel the nudge. That means choosing peace over panic, discernment over reaction, obedience over delay. That is what it looks like to walk in alignment with the calendar that is written over your life. One concrete practice is to begin each morning with a simple seal. Before you check your messages, before you open your calendar, before you step into the demands of the day, take 30 seconds to place your hand over your heart and say, I am available for guidance today. That is all. You do not need a long prayer. You do not need a perfect posture. You simply need to declare your availability. Then move through your day with that awareness in the background of your mind. When a decision arises, you will remember that you declared your availability. When a nudge comes, you will be more likely to notice it. When confusion arises, you will have a reference point to return to. Another concrete practice is to create a threshold pause. Every time you move from one space to another, from your car to your home, from your workspace to your kitchen, from your phone to your prayer corner, take one breath and ask, what is the most faithful next step here? That question will slow you down just enough to interrupt autopilot. It will invite discernment into the ordinary transitions of your day. It will remind you that every moment is an opportunity to align with the signal, not just the moments set aside for prayer or Bible reading. Over time, these small pauses will become a rhythm that keeps you connected to the quiet voice, even in the busiest seasons. Protection comes through limits. It comes through the courage to say no to good things that are not the best thing for this season. It comes through the wisdom to recognize that not every invitation is for you. Not every opportunity is aligned. Not every open door is meant to be walked through. You do not have to explain your no to everyone. You do not have to justify your boundaries. You do not have to apologize for protecting your peace. Mercy often looks like a closed door. Mercy often looks like a changed rhythm. Mercy often looks like a decision to step back so that you can step forward in the right direction. Do not despise the limits. They are part of the protection that is allowing what is being formed in you to survive and thrive. There is one clear decision you can make today. It is the decision to stop treating the signal as optional. It is the decision to respond when you feel the nudge, even if the response is small. It is the decision to trust that obedience in the small things is preparing you for the larger things. That decision does not require you to have all the answers. It does not require you to see the whole path. It simply requires you to take the next faithful step, and then the next, and then the next. Over time, those steps will form a path that you could not have mapped on your own. That is how chosenness is lived, not in grand declarations, but in daily obedience. If this message has been an amen in your spirit, even if you have not said it out loud, tap the like button as a silent amen. Do not do it for the algorithm. Do not do it to support a channel. Do it as a small act of agreement, a way of saying, this resonates, this matters. This is not just words. Then come back to these words. There is still more to receive before this message reaches its end. Think of one person who came to your mind while you were listening. Maybe it is someone who has been waiting like you. Maybe it is someone who has been confused like you. Maybe it is someone who has been ignoring the signal like you. Share this message with them, not as pressure but as care. Frame it as delivery, as something you sensed they needed to hear. You do not have to explain why you sent it. You do not have to convince them to watch it. You simply have to send it and trust that the signal will find them in the way it found you. That is how this work spreads, not through campaigns, but through quiet acts of love. If you are ready to stop ignoring the signal and start living in alignment with the recognition that has been placed in your heart, type the words "I am chosen" in the comments as a declaration of identity. Do not say it as a wish. Say it as a confirmation of what has already been spoken over you. Do not say it as superiority. Say it as responsibility. You are chosen not to be elevated above others, but to serve with clarity, to love with courage, to walk with peace in the midst of confusion. That is what chosenness looks like when it is lived out in the ordinary moments of a Friday, a Monday, a Sunday, any day. You have traveled a distance in these words. You began with a quiet weight in your chest and a sense that this Friday held more than just another set of tasks. You moved through the cost of ignoring the signal, the route pattern that had kept you in confusion, the opposition that had flooded your days with noise, the metaphor of the seed being formed in the soil, the practices that can keep you aligned, the limits that can protect your peace, the decision that can change everything. You are not the same person who began reading. You have been reminded of what you already knew in the deepest part of you. You have been invited to stop negotiating with the truth. You have been given language for what has been forming in the quiet. You have been offered practical steps to live differently starting today. There are others across the world receiving this same quiet recognition at this very moment. There are others in their kitchens, in their cars, in their quiet rooms, feeling the same weight, hearing the same whisper, facing the same decision. You are not alone in this.